Hello, I'm Hannah, and this is Hannah's Books. Tonight, Jews begin the celebration of Hanukkah, a relatively minor holiday that's acquired a really big profile in the U.S. because of its proximity to Christmas. And like Christmas, it's celebrated with light. Whether you hang multicolored lights from your roof, or light the Advent candle each week, or a Yule log, or candles in a Hanukkah, often called a menorah, all these traditions are about bringing extra light to the world at a time of darkness and pulling together all the people we love. This afternoon, I want to share a story I first heard when my son was young. It's not a folk tale exactly, but it's written in the style of a folk tale by Penninah Schram and Rosman in their lovely collection, 8 Tales for 8 Nights. Folktale basically refers to stories that are passed along through the oral tradition and are sometimes altered as people's memories fail or as people make choices to add or remove specific elements they do remember. Given that this style was their model, I hope Schram and Rosman will forgive me for sharing a version that I'm sure will not be exactly what they wrote. Here's the story. We lived in a small village called a shtetl. Our home was small, too. It had only 2 rooms. One was a bedroom for my mama and papa. The other was a kitchen and living room, all in one. My brother Chaim, my sister Esther, and I slept on straw mattresses. We would huddle together in front of the big stove in the kitchen. It was the first night of Hanukkah, and we were busy getting ready. We had to wash the walls and sweep the floor and cover it with a new layer of straw. Chaim had to bring in the wood from the outside to keep the fire burning in the stove. Mama was cooking. She cooked all day. Most of the time we ate only bread, onions, some milk, and a few vegetables. But as if by magic, Mama always had some treats for the holidays. For Hanukkah, she made latkes, and all day long the whole house smelled of the potatoes and onions frying. It was very cold. The wind howled and crept into the house through cracks in the walls and from under the door. If you stepped too far away from the stove, you felt a chill that made you shiver. We were dressed in our holiday clothes, waiting for Papa to come home. He was a woodcutter and had taken a cartload of wood to the home of a customer. We knew he should have been home by now. He was always home in time to begin the holidays. Mama said nothing. She scurried back and forth between the kitchen stove and the kitchen table. Finally, she sat down in her wooden chair and picked up her sewing. I loved to watch her as she slipped the needle in and out of the material, pausing every now and then to moisten the tip of a new thread in her mouth and pass it through the eye of the needle. When the wind rattled the front door, we would look up anxiously, hoping it was Papa. But it was only the wind. Papa was still out there in the snow somewhere trying to get home to us. Eventually, the time came to light the menorah, and none of us said a word to Mama. We would light it when Papa came home. Outside, we heard the voices of some people singing on their way home from shul after evening prayers. Even though the wind howled, the nigunim, the wordless tunes they sang, could be heard clearly. If only your Papa could hear the nigunim, Mama whispered, like a prayer. Suddenly, Mama grabbed her shawl and draped it over her head and around her shoulders. She ran outside. What was she doing? Why did she run outside into the bitter, cold, snowy night? We waited. The front door crashed open, and a gust of wind rushed inside. It rattled the rickety wooden table and pushed the old rocking chair back and forth. Mama told us to get our coats and follow her quickly. We left the house, and immediately our eyes began to water from the cold. Our faces grew red, and we pulled up our scarves to cover our mouths and noses. We scurried behind Mama as she led us through the town, past the butcher shop and the marketplace. The snow was up to our knees, and we had to lift our legs high in the air as we trudged along. Finally, we reached the shul. As we opened the door to enter, the snow blew in and made the faded floorboards wet. In the middle of the room was a raised platform surrounded by wooden railings. To the left were bookshelves filled with old books. Straight ahead, mounted like a cabinet onto the eastern wall, was the Ark, covered with a scarlet velvet curtain. Inside was the Torah, the sacred book of the Jewish people. Low wooden benches were scattered throughout the room. More people came in after us, and soon the little room was filled. The whole town was there. The butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, everyone was there. In a haunting, trembling voice, the Rebbe began that mysterious sing-song chant called a nigun. Ya-da-da-da-da-dum, ya-da-da-da-da-dum. And almost without realizing it, we began to sing with the Rebbe. Our bodies swayed back and forth to the beat of the mysterious melody. The building shook, and vibrations ran along the floorboards. We held on to each other and sang even louder. Our eyes glimpsed the menorah in the center of the room. The vibrations in the room made the flame dance on the surface of the oil. All of a sudden there was silence. The Rebbe stopped singing, and as one voice we stopped too. No one said a word. The Rebbe opened his eyes and looked beyond us to the door, just as it burst open. "Papa!" we cried, and ran with Mama to hug him. His dark beard was hidden by the frost and ice. He shivered as we held on to him. My father had been traveling home in the storm all day. It was snowing so hard he couldn't see 2 feet in front of him. And when it grew dark, he almost gave up all hope of ever finding his way home. And then he heard music. He heard singing. Just like that, the sound of our voices reached him and guided him home. Happy Hanukkah, everybody. Thanks for listening tonight.